I want to go ahead and introduce you to Claire Heins, Nancy Schwartz, and they're from Team Ability here in San Antonio, Texas. And they are going to talk about the Lily Nielsen model approach to active learning. So please put your hands together and welcome Team Ability.
Before we get started, we'd like to have 2 volunteers up here so we can do a little demonstration. Yeah, okay, there's one. And here's another one. Okay. All right, come on over here. Can you all hear me if I put the microphone down? Can you hear it well enough? We'll see. No. He does now. No. You don't mind being blindfolded?
Nope.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're going to demonstrate a couple different ways of learning that you might have observed. We have one over here and one over here. Okay. And what we've done here is we've given our volunteers a handicap. This is the easiest handicap we could give them, the easiest disability we could give them. We've blindfolded them so they could experience something without being able to see it. Oh, what do we have here? You're taking them off. Get it? Off. Let's match them. Back. Whoa, almost. Almost. You can do it. I'm waiting. Here you go. Again. You can do it. See? There. Perfect. Did you like that? Did you like that? Good. Let's push this away. We're finished. We're finished. Now look what you're going to do. Oh, you're going to like this. Get it? Uh-oh. Oh, do it over here. We're making balloons. Do you want a different color? Okay, let me have your other hand. Two hands. Very nice. You good? Okay. We're going to stop right here. Leave well, not yet. Remember, we're going to ask them what they learned. Yeah, sorry. Okay. We'll start with this person right here. What's your name?
Jessica?
Okay, Jessica, what did you learn?
That I'm still able to do it without, with minimal assistance, but I can kind of grasp things around.
That you can kind of...
That I can still get it accomplished. Or whatever.
What were you making?
I was painting something.
What colors were they?
I don't know.
Why don't you know? Could you see them?
No.
No?
No.
No. Okay. Claire.
What did you do?
Hey, balls.
Play with balls. What did you like about them?
I like feel balls.
Feel them. Did you like the noise? That
Yeah.
they made? Yeah. What else did we play with?
I don't know.
Describe it for me.
Beans.
Beads. Okay, cool. What did you like about those?
It's awesome.
It was awesome. Okay.
So what we were trying to do is demonstrate two different methods of teaching and learning. And one is, we believe, more effective, and that's where the child or the person has direct experience with what they're doing and the freedom to move where they want to move and touch what they want to touch. And then there's the opposite, which I was doing, which was all hand-over-hand assistance to do an activity that I thought would be fun. And what we want to do is contrast, during our talk today, contrast this compared to what we're going to discuss, the active learning, and why active learning in many cases is more appropriate for children who are beginning to learn about their environment. So, okay. We're finished. Thank you very much. Okay. And my notes. I don't know where they're at. Mm-hmm. Okay. You want to talk about teamability?
So we are both teachers from Team Ability, an organization in San Antonio. We serve children with multiple disabilities. We're a nonprofit, and we combine physical therapy, occupational therapy, and educational services. And we only serve children with severe multiple disabilities. So, my background, me. I'm Claire. I'm a teacher, a special ed teacher. I'm working on my master's degree in deaf blindness. And I have, I've been working in the disabled community since I was 14, so longer than it would seem. And I started working at Team Ability about 3 years ago.
I'm Nancy Schwartz. I started working at Team Ability 4 years ago. Before that, I was a stay-at-home mom for about 13 years, so a big gap. And before that, I was working early intervention for a program on Lackland Air Force Base. Many of you might have heard of CAMP. They had an early intervention service there as well. And I also worked for about 4 years in the public schools. So I've had a variety of experiences. I'm not saying that I've never done this before, but I do believe that I've learned different ways of teaching at Team Ability, and hopefully we can put that across to you today. What do we have, the video? So it's a video, quick video of some of the things that happen at Team Ability. Say something about it? I just did. Yeah. Oh. What you should be seeing and what you hopefully will see in a minute here is active learning taking place at Team Ability. Okay. What you saw were a variety of children taking place in a variety of different ways you can participate in active learning. And we want to describe to you what where this started. And the person who began with the active learning concept was Lily Nielsen. And you may have heard of other types of active learning we've discovered later, but what we're talking about is what Lily Nielsen had studied. And what she did was, let me use my glasses. What she did was that she noticed that children with multiple disabilities and visual impairments were not making the same progress at the same rates as other children that typically develop due to the fact that they have no disabilities. She developed the active learning approach. Lily Nielsen is from Denmark, and she grew up with, I believe, 4 siblings who were blind, and some of them were multiply impaired. And she observed them to begin with, and it made her curious enough to try different things with her siblings. And eventually she studied it and came up with different ways of approaching the learning for these children. My notes here. She determined the need for play and access and control. And what you can see by looking at the videos is that all of the learning that was happening was self-directed. We'll describe the type of environment we try to have so that this can take place. Sometimes we try to make it very quiet. The only thing that bothers us about this video was that you can hear the phone in the background ringing constantly, and those are things that are out of our control. But it's more of a self-directed play, and what we have to do at Team Ability is to take what Lily has taught us about active learning and combine it with the PT and the OT that we offer. And though those two things seem to be hands-on, we try to approach it so that we can achieve an environment that is self-directed, yet they're working on their PT and OT goals. Did you have any more to say?
The expanding space.
Okay. One of the things that Lily studied and was very specific about was the fact that how typical children are develop is that they start out in the womb and they have a little space in that room, and that's where they first start learning to explore their environment. And as soon as they come out, their space gets a little bigger, and they're in the mother's arms, maybe the bassinet, and it expands. And as their space expands, so does their ability to explore a little further and a little further. The next thing you know, they're in the larger crib or on the floor. They begin to roll, and they might roll. One of Lily's examples was they might roll under a couch, and you would say, "Oh, look, you're under the couch. Do you feel the couch there? How'd you get over there?" And put them back where they were. But they have the ability to move. And as they get a little older, they're up and building their tents and maybe playing peekaboo in a little space. So it develops gradually for a normally developing child. And Lily contrasted that with the fact that when the child is not able to move or to use their senses, such as hearing and vision, and or maybe very sensitive to touch, that their rooms stay smaller for a longer period of time. And so her idea was to bring things from the world into their small space and design small spaces for them where they can still explore and learn about their world, because that experience builds memory for the environment, and it develops a sense of awareness and hopefully will lead towards expanding their space a little bit. Okay.
I just wanted to add a little bit about access. I think that the thing we focus on the most in active learning is access. Children with multiple disabilities, either visual disabilities, hearing disabilities, motor impairments, is that they don't have access to the normal world as typically developing children do. So if you have a vision impairment, you might not know that something else is on the table for you to reach. So you're not automatically finding something, whereas normal children will see something and reach for it and play for it, and then they are automatically engaging their brain to make the connection. When I move, I access something. When I see something, I can move, I can access it. And so a lot of the children that we see don't have the motor ability to do that. If they see something and it's out of their reach, it may as well not exist. They can't access it anymore. And so a big component is that we bring access to the child. We bring the world to them so that they can explore the same way that typically developing children can, and their brains can make those connections the same way.
And so with that access comes in just a little bit about the PT and OT, comes in the desire to move a little bit more, to use your hands a little bit more, to kick with your feet a little bit more. The more that they have access, the more they experience, the more desire we're trying to build in exploring their environments.
Okay, so active learning was really designed for children who are cognitively under 4 years old. And this is partially just because these are the critical years in which children just do. They get into cabinets, they bang, spoons onto pans. When my niece was 6 months old, I handed her spice jars to shake and mess with. It doesn't have to be a toy. They don't engage in pretend play. They're still making the baseline for all of their information about the world. They're just soaking up information as much as possible and then using that information to compare and contrast and make concepts. So now they have a concept of spoon, now they have a concept of hard, now they have a concept of soft. Even if they don't have words for that yet, they're making sense of their world. So that's kind of why we target the developmentally under 4 years old cognitively. Active learning provides an opportunity to explore and learn by actively interacting with the environment. A lot of children who are confined to wheelchairs are not given something to do. They are deprived of access. They are deprived of exploration. They are deprived of that ability to soak in that information. The same is true with hearing and vision impairments. It is an information gathering disability. You do not have access to the sounds of your world. So, I don't know that someone's walking that way. I don't know that the door is closing that way. I have no idea, if I can't see you, how many people are in this room. I don't know what you're wearing. I don't know how you're feeling. Unless somebody's standing here communicating that to me, if I don't have the vision, if I don't have the sight, those things are being taken away. And even if it's not total blindness or total deafness, even small impairments impact how much of the world you can take in. And it's very small. It makes your world very small. It's only what you can touch. And if you have a motor impairment on top of that, what you can touch is limited also. So,
Can I add to that? Yeah. And I just wanted to add to think about what that must be like, because if you had the world passing by you and you had no idea of what was going to happen next, I think that's part of the issue, the anxiety that must create in some of the children that we see. There's no connection with the outer world, so things just actually happen to them, and the information that they need may not be presented to them.
okay, so active learning is essentially providing stuff that the kids like, stuff that the kids want to explore, providing them the opportunity to develop preference. The most classic active learning tool is the noisy box that we have over here. You can position a child and suspend things around them so that things don't escape from them. If they move, nothing rolls away where they can't get it anymore. Something is permanent. They can find it again and again. They don't have to commit a lot of movement if they're not able. And it's very customizable. So we have probably 50 options for our noisy box at Team Ability, because we individualize it for each child. And the nice thing is that if you have it at home, it can stay the same. The child can be put in it again and again and repeat that action again and again until they develop that concept, they develop that memory. They can look for something that they prefer. They can avoid something they don't like. They have total control over their environment in the noisy box. Also known as the little room for Lily Nielsen. because she's building on that concept of the womb and the room that typically developing children have access to as smaller spaces to explore. As Nancy said already, it promotes movement in space. It gives them a reason to want to move because those things don't escape from them. It's permanent, it's reliable, it's there for them. And it builds independence because you don't have to jingle something in there for them to know it's there. You don't have to guide their hands to find something. Whatever they find in there, they can find on their own. And that's part of how you develop it, is if all they have to do is move their hand this much, and that's something they can do without you helping them, they are building that concept internally. Whereas if you're helping them, they're thinking about your hands on them, they're thinking about all the other factors that aren't just, hey, I can do this. I can do this on my own. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk about some guidelines. As Claire was saying, well, I guess I should start from the very beginning. It's about time. What we're trying to point out there is that the children, when they are in these environments, need to be given ample time to really learn and discover, to really stay there and experience things. People tend to, and we have to sit on our own hands sometimes too, that we tend to want things to move along a little quicker, or nothing's happening. It's just there. And then one day, or one moment, you may see there's a recognition that there's something next to me, and I'm fingering it, or I'm moving my head towards it, and it's about giving them enough time to do that rather than to rush them through it. Another thing is not to distract. One of the major sins I had over here was I was talking too much. I was commenting on what she was doing, and my goodness, should she listen to me or should she be feeling things around her? The distractions go from that to our telephone that's ringing all the time. We have a video in here later. I don't know if it's audible or not, how Claire tried to mask the sound, but we had somebody looking at equipment at the same time a child was doing active learning, and that was kind of necessary because the parents and everybody needed to be involved, and the child was occupied just fine, but it's not the best environment. Guidelines. Hands off. We tend to want to guide the child's hands to touch things, or their head or their feet, and we need to give them time to do that on their own.
Out of a desire for them to succeed. That's why we do it.
Right, out of a desire for them to succeed, as Claire said. What we're trying to do is to make it their action, not ours. They're having things done to them and all the time, and they need to know where the sound is coming from. It's that they are creating it. Make it motivating. You want to talk about that?
So motivation is individual to the child. We have lots of things that make cool noises. We have lots of things that have cool textures. We have lots of things that are shiny and bright and lit, and it's per child. One child that I see may love shiny, so I fill the noisy box with shiny. And another child may love noisy, and so I fill the box with noisy. You want something that the moment they discover it, they want it to happen again. And they will do what they need to do to make it happen again.
Keeping it consistent, I skipped over, but Claire had described about how keeping things in the same order is important. We'll do the same thing with the noisy boxes, keeping for per child, try to keep things where they were the last time they were in the noisy box. The same with the environment. You saw the child who was suspended with the balls on his feet. Keeping things where they were the last time for many children is very important because they learn to move towards the things that they enjoy the most. Let's see, repetition. Sometimes we ourselves get in a rut and we say, oh, well, we did that last time. But then we have to evaluate. If we did it last time and they enjoyed it, it's worth doing again. Well, you have children who are developing normally, who you'll take to the playground every day, and they sit in the swing, and they swing, and they swing, and swing, and they do the same thing they did yesterday. But it was because they enjoyed it. And so we have to remember with our children that we're working with that they also need a chance to repeat things and enjoy the repetition and learn from it. So that's, yeah.
The other important thing about repetition is that typically developing children do things hundreds and thousands of times. They just do it much faster, and so we don't get fed up as quickly. But how many times does a kid drop something off a table and drop something off the table and drop something off the table and wait for you to pick it up and give it back to them, and they'll drop it off the table again? Or, there was a little boy outside and he was climbing up and down the stairs, up and down the stairs, up and down the stairs. He's going to do that thousands of times before he masters that skill, because it takes the brain repetition after repetition after repetition to form those neurological connections. That's just how the brain works. But it's easy for us to say, oh, well, we did that yesterday, but the kid only got to do it 5 times. Whereas a typically developing kid got to do it 100 times. So you now have to wait, or you've deprived them of the opportunity to learn that skill. So even though it feels like you're spending a lot longer doing something, that's back to the time. The other aspect of time is just things take longer because you still need that number of repetitions. It's not about how long you did it for, it's about how many opportunities that child got to do it. Yeah?
Okay, use appropriate level of challenge. This is actually a good one that Claire could talk about, but children may want to start out with just touching and feeling the balls. We have some ping pong balls. Do you know where that whisk is at? Okay. And say maybe they've spent a long time playing with balls or just feeling a whisk. And it's really kind of nice. It's smooth, it's cool, and there might be a point in time where they're no longer interested in the whisk. But if you put something inside of it, it becomes a different toy with some of the similar qualities that you've been exploring. So that's what we mean by using comparison and also challenging a little bit more. Letting the child be in control. Again, the hands-off approach, letting them move in the way they want, in the direction they want, and making choices of what they want to play with.
I might add to that.
Okay.
Something that we are all very guilty of in the desire to have our children succeed is we will change things or try to help them achieve something physically by tactily prompting them, helping them get their hand just a little farther. But by doing that, we have deprived them of the option of not doing it. Maybe they don't want to touch it. Well, now they don't have a choice. So you want them to be able to make that choice. I want to touch that. I don't want to touch that. And by giving them the access, by setting it up so that they can be successful, you can take hands off and let them make those choices.
And there's the opposite end of that, where if their arms don't move up that far, then setting up their positioning, which we'll talk about later, positioning so that their arms can be propped up to encounter things that they might want to touch. No fairy godmothers. Is that where we're at? Okay. Adapt and respond to preferences. You want to talk about that?
It's just back to what do kids like, and as you see a kid going back to the same thing again and again, well, maybe that's what you take and you build on. So you're not going to build on something they weren't interested in the first place. You're going to build on something that they really liked, whether that's something that made a cool noise, you bring something else that makes a cool noise that's a little bit different. Yeah.
And the fairy godmothers, like the tooth fairy, something just appears underneath your pillow, something just appears next to you, all on the goodwill of the teacher or the parent, wanting them to have something right there, but the ability to discover it on their own is what active learning encourages, not for things to just land on their lap or land near their hands without being able to reach for it.
Okay, so this is kind of what we were talking about earlier, assessing a child's preferences. Take what you already know that a kid likes and go forth. Something that attracts their attention. So shiny, textured, noisy, reflective, whatever floats your kid's boat. Everyday objects. Most typically developing kids play with all kinds of junk that you have lying around your house. Whether it's the spoon on the table, whether it's the chair that they can kind of push around the room, all this stuff. brushes, you hand them a brush, they kind of mess with it. So we really prefer everyday objects because it gives them a base of cognitive development, of these are concepts that they need of what's the real world, what's around them. If you only give them plastic toys, all they have a concept of is plastic. Whereas if you give them a diversity of textures, a diversity of things to look at, a diversity of sounds to make that aren't just electronic sounds, that aren't just, everything in your world makes a sound. Whether it's my heels clicking along the, hardwood floor as I walk around, or, I don't know, anything. But,
and we've brought a lot of materials that we just typically use in our center. And Claire was talking about electronic toys. We do have some of those. Some of our children are very motivated by them. But I tend to want to use them to motivate them to move in a direction towards other things that they could discover. Also, we have an iPad, and we put some apps in the back. That can be used for active learning as well, and you might see a little clip later on a child reaching out, and it's a cause-effect thing. Oh, I made a noise. I'm reaching out with your hand or moving your face towards it. So the electronics we're not opposed to, but we try to use them in a way where the child is learning and discovering from it, not learning the colors or ABCs. It has a lot to do with the level of the children we work with as well.
this is kind of an example of what I was talking about, everyday noises. These are cereal blankets. They are made of the inside of cereal boxes, the little bags your cereal comes in. They make a lot of noise. How often does a non-typically developing kid get to hear this noise? And you hear it, you know immediately, like, oh, it's food. Something in here is going to be food. And they might not make that association per se, but just the ability to experience it, the ability to make noise with it, just kind of adding to that. Yeah. Oh, we made these. We literally took cereal, the bags out of cereal boxes, washed them, and taped them together. We made them, yeah. A lot of the materials, not all the stuff we brought today, but a lot of the materials we use, and you'll see some pictures, is stuff we just made out of stuff in our houses. And then last one is, do you have anything to add? To plan for the level of movement. So you take, what can your kid already do right now? Not what is it that you want them to do, because it's not about what you want them to do. You want them to learn. And the best way for kids to learn is to try out skills that they have in new environments. And then they build new skills with that. So if your kid can move their head, you're going to put something near their head for them to find so that they can expand this movement. Yeah.
And then there's, on the other end, a child who's moving around a lot. Their room has expanded. So having a room, which you can see on some of our video of the environments that we have in a certain room, having a room large enough where they, if they're walking, that they can move to it, or if there's some other access that they have, maybe with a kid walk or whatever, having things in a larger room available on their level, on the wall, or if they're on the floor, expanding them. I've seen noisy boxes that are built probably maybe this high, but they might take up the space of this screen here and out. So it just depends on their level of movement. So walls. Yeah, walls. Yeah.
You ready to show pictures? Okay, so now we have a lot of pictures of different kinds of environments, and we'll talk about why we have that environment, what it's good for, and kind of relay it back to what we've been talking about. There we go. That's actually the cereal blanket. This is Bella. She was in the first video. She has some hand movement. She has a little bit of leg movement, but it's not big. It's never way out here. It's always kind of centered. And so we laid the cereal blanket in her lap. She now has access. You don't have to touch her at all for her to be able to make that noise and play. Here. I don't know.
Okay, I'm not sure which child this is. It's a little dark, but this is we actually brought this this board. One of our We changed it. Oh, since then. Okay. This is a child next to a wall. We have a suspension system where we work, where we are able to put harnesses on our children so they can be upright and hopefully move in that upright position, but also be suspended next to the wall where they can experience things that are everyday items that they might encounter if they were moving themselves. This child is obviously interested in the glove or something that's there, and some of our kids will get next to it with their faces and move in that way too. Some of the things that you can see there are shiny because we work with many children who have cortical visual impairments, so we try to add a shiny aspect to many of our things just because we know that's a need that most of our kids have. And we have some things that are maybe a child might be averse to touching too, which like the little curler there and a little scratch pad, and that's okay. We have for their feet. We also have some other textures, the same type of like AstroTurf pad here that maybe most of our kids wouldn't like, but it does let them experience it and let them have the opportunity to move away from it. There's nobody forcing them to touch or put their feet on. And the same way with this things that are there. If they reach out and touch and don't like it, they can pull back. Nobody's hand over hand manipulating them.
Something else about this board is that one of Lily's concepts is building on what kids do to experiment. So the first level is scratch. Kids just kind of scratch at something and feel the texture and feel the noise. And then they move on to grabbing stuff. And so this board is more of a grab board where kids can reach and grab and kind of check stuff out. I don't remember the next level, manipulating. But so she builds up towards what kind of task you're giving them the opportunity to do, whether it's grabbing at something or flipping something or just messing. So, but most of our kids are still in the messing stage. Not very many of our kids have gotten to the grab stage. And so that's one of the reasons we've changed this board, is we've made both the grab portion of that really easy, but we've also made it more of just a touch sort of a board. And this board can be mounted both on the wall, and it can also be mounted on a wheelchair tray. So you can clasp it on, it won't go anywhere, and then things are in a predetermined place. They can find it again and again as you give them the opportunity to use it again. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The next one is of the scratching kind of pad that can be used also on a tray. Our kids don't spend a whole lot of time sitting in chairs while they're at our center, but we do try to develop things for them that they can use outside of our center and encourage, for school, home. So this is another, what Claire was talking about. This is the step before grabbing, is the scratching. Okay, this is one of Lily's developments, or what do you call it, materials. This is called a resonance board. It's a very thin piece of wood that, when touched, vibrates and makes a lot of sound. You could put a vibrator on it, and it'll rattle and fill up the whole room with noise. But it also, for a child who is moving very minimally, it amplifies any little movement that they make. So my understanding is, I never worked with this child, but my understanding was he liked to scratch and tap. And so when he was put on this board and a little game was played with him of somebody else tapping, he would tap back. And so it was really good for him to have the feedback from his movements that he might not have received if he was just on a regular mat.
Just a note on that game, the back and forth game, is more in the vein of Jan van Dijk, who is a PhD also from the Netherlands, who works primarily with children with deaf blindness and multiple disabilities. But he emphasizes more the social and the emotional aspects of these children's needs. And so we incorporate all of that into our program. We don't just do Lily's active learning or Van Dijk's reciprocal interaction, we just kind of take all the information we have and scoop it together. So we have at the very end of the slide kind of websites from our various resources that we use. But the resonance game itself is not a Lily game, it's a Van Dijk game. But we don't really think about those things when we play it.
And one of the things that Van Dyke emphasizes is the ability for a child to accommodate to new environments and new people, and how he does that is to again give time and not forcing a child into anything that they are not willing to participate in. So at the back of our handout, you'll find resources there. And Jan Van Dyke has some interesting webcasts that show him in action with other children, with children that have been brought to him, and how he has worked with them. We find it very interesting, and we try to emulate some of what he does. Okay. Noisy box in action. Things are placed near this child's knees, probably because there's a little movement there. I think near the hands, where the hands are propped up. I don't know anything more to comment on there.
I don't know this particular child, but I would have to assume that the sides are made of that material, A, because they're visually appealing, B, because he can reach out and grab them, and C, because you can hook something onto it. We use solid sides a lot more often and put Velcro on them, but most of our kids don't touch the sides either. This is Leah. She does not have a lot of movement in her legs. She usually uses her head and her hands for exploration, and so we've positioned her where she does not have to work. We'll talk more about the positioning later, but her hands are in things for her to feel, where she doesn't have to reach forward and put in a lot of effort to get there. She can just stay where she is to kind of check it out. I think she's got her hands in some marbles and bells or aluminum foil, or I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Okay, we have that. This is our Velcro board. I think we brought it here somewhere. Lily likes this. This is good for some kids who are really reaching out and grabbing. That is okay. Okay. Reaching out, grabbing, and taking and pulling off. And what this idea of this is for a child to be able to use a little bit of force, a little movement with their hands, and force to pull things off enough. And we're not insistent of them putting it back. It's more of a grab and release type of game. So, yeah.
This is Josh. This is the first day that we tried this squishy bath stuff. It is disgusting. I hate it. But Josh obviously thinks it's awesome. He'd never felt it before. We positioned him, and he continuously lowered his hands in and picked them up because it was kind of cold. And he'd lower them back in and pick them up because it was cold. And we just let him play. He played with it for 20 minutes. And he was fast. Huh? It's called Squishy Bath. Bath, B-A-F-F.
I found ours at Target. They were selling out. I don't know if they're still developing it. You might find it on Amazon. It's really, they designed it to be put in bathtubs, but I can't imagine immersing my child in this stuff because it's so hard to wash off. But there is a dissolving agent as well. You can put in the bathtub afterwards. But hey, we think hands are great, and you can use a smaller amount that way. But it's called Squishy Bath, B-A-F-F. It's not exactly pleasant to have all that goop on your hands, but it does promote movement. Some kids really like it. So, yeah, they like the coolness on their hands.
And similarly, we have these beads we were looking at earlier. You can come up after and touch all this stuff, but they're kind of like wet and gooey gel beads. They're made for flower arranging. They absorb lots of water and help the flowers stay moist. Obviously, we don't use them for that, but they're really cool to touch, put kids' hands in, put kids' feet in, or provide access to them for the kids to do it themselves, because not all kids like it, and you want to give them the chance to go, oh, I don't like that. But we're always surprised. Kids usually like the weird stuff.
And because I like them so much, I'm going to say that those in particular are really nice because your hands come out feeling clean. But also, we put a tray of them on top of a light box the other day. So if your child has a visual impairment and they like lights to look at or something bright, that is an added benefit and an added attraction. So they're great. Yeah.
This is Julia. She's in the suspended harness that we were talking about. She has the freedom to move kind of side to side. She's very curious. She's past the grab stage. And she likes to grab something, pull it, look at it, and then let go. And she knows. She's figured out, like, okay, the stuff I really like is way over here. She'll travel that way, find it, grab it, look at it, shake it, move back the other way, find something else, grab it, shake it. And she just has a blast. And we really don't interfere with all of that. She really is very independent about it. This is in our center. The HOPS address itself was developed by Lily Nielsen, and you can purchase them through her. The overhead tracking system is not unique to our place, though we have a very extensive one that allows kids to move freely around the whole entire room. A lot of families have them as tracks from the bed to the bath, or the bed to some important room in their house. And it's usually something families work out through Medicaid. Not Medicaid. So it doesn't even matter. So you might actually be able to get it provided for, but we had someone come specially build ours so that we have a track that goes all the way around the room and then one in the center that lets kids move the entire room. And it's nice because if you lift kids up enough, even if they can't bear weight on their legs, if they can push with one toe, well, now they're flying that way.
Yeah, I think that, Claire, here in the United States, you have to medically justify having something that is similar to what we have, and like Claire says, bathroom to bedroom for children who are difficult to move. But there's some people who've been able to get them. We didn't need to justify it. We have a center and paid for it ourselves, I guess. One of the things that Claire mentioned about this little girl is that she likes to let things go, and there are other environments that you can create for your wheelchairs. Where if you have a child who loves to just grab and release, and putting things on the elastic or on strings allows those things to remain available. And a lot of our kids are that type of explorers that want to touch and then drop to the side, and that's everything is new. So that's okay. And a lot of times, sometimes it's spent picking things up or just saying, don't drop it. But instead, this is something that comes back to them, and they can reach out and get it again. So, less work for you. Yeah, less work for you. Okay. This is Adriana, and she's again in the noisy box. She has very, very limited movement, but she does like to use her tongue. And some of the things she does is she likes to lick. She's able to. We have a little taste that we'll give her and to lick things, but she's exploring something there with her tongue and enjoying it. So we provide access to things for her face and for her tongue.
And one of the considerations we make when we make an environment for her is we say, okay, can it be easily disinfected? Because we want her to have the opportunity to explore it with her tongue. That's her main mode of exploration. We're going to provide as much opportunity as possible. So we provide her with beads that are easy to wash. We do spoons. We do, not all just plastic, but things that are easy to maintain. So that way you don't have to give the opportunity the once and then not give it again later because it got wet.
We designed our noisy box so that it would easily clip off. We have little hooks and little rings and things clip on and clip off so that that's easier to accomplish because we do switch children on the hour. So our children come to us 2 hours a week, 2 times a week, 1 hour at a time. So
now it's the stuff.
Oh, here's the stuff. This is our way of compartmentalizing and just keeping things nice and neat. We have a shoe organizer hanging over top of a door, and we have all our little objects, as many as we could put in there, in the pocket so that they're easy and available to switch out. Another noisy box. Yeah. And hanging objects. Our kids are, when they're suspended or in other positions, they're able to sit amongst this or stand amongst it and have objects next to them. We have a lot of objects that, these are just paper tubes from gift wrapping paper. So they make a nice little noise when they're touched, and even those who don't like to be in amongst it will reach out and listen to the noise.
And we'll talk about upping the ante later, but this is actually one of the things that Julia likes to play with. Is I'll hide lights inside the little tubes, so when she comes and she picks them up, she looks in them and goes looking for the lights and just gets a big kick out of it when she finds one. She's like, oh, found it. And the other thing about hanging objects is, we like to make them long, because that way if they can get their face in and they can get their hands in both, they're feeling the same thing both places. It gives them a more comprehensive concept of what it is that they're feeling. And the other thing is, it moves easily. You can make sound a lot easier if something's hanging and swinging the way wind chimes do. And we use wind chimes a lot, actually, because they're noisy and easy to make noise. We'll discover things that we think, oh, for sure this makes a great noise, and find that it actually requires a lot of force to make it move or make it make noise. And that doesn't work for a lot of our kids. They need something that doesn't require a lot of force or a lot of movement.
Okay. We have a huge supply of ball pit balls. We do have a ball pit, but we've had some of them strung and also use that as an environment. More. This is part of our wall. Just we keep things the same on our wall. If we change it, we make the change and leave it that way for a while, just so that it stays the same for the kids who are interested in exploring. Yeah. Somebody donated a bunch of tennis balls for us, and those are heavy, but they're different than a lot of the things we have, and they have a different texture. And what's really cool about them is they glow in black light, so they also kind of stand out to some of the kids who have visual impairments, and are a very attractive thing to play with. So.
Claire's creation.
I made this out of trash. It's Christmas garlands, and then the outside is the tubing that the little turn things for curtains come in. They're just like little plastic tubes, and I stuffed little garlands in them and hung them. Bead garlands. So they're shiny, they're noisy, they're clattery, and kids love this. I don't know if it's just because it's so easy to make noise. Some kids just come and sweep the whole thing, and it makes a huge noise. Some kids like to just kind of flick it. Some kids like to lick it. It's also easy to clean. I mean, I don't know what it is, but almost all of our kids just really enjoy the clatter curtain. That's what we named it.
If they're not attracted to it to begin with, we also try to highlight things with lights, just to make it shinier for them. This is our car wash. We have 3 strands of strips of plastic, and we call it the car wash. It's right underneath our Hopsa track. The kids can move through it and feel it against them. We also have they lick it. We also have a swing that we can attach to our Hopsa dress. For those kids who aren't able to be upright and maybe are better off in a sitting position, our swing will attach to our Hopsa dress, and we have a remote so that they can access movement by pressing a switch, but we have things for them to pass under or pass by so that it makes it an environment where they can explore. Okay, more car wash. There we go. Positioning. Positioning. Making sure the child is comfortable is what Claire had mentioned before. If a child has to work too hard and their neck strength is compromised, or they're just not comfortable in their position, the fun will be taken away just by the fact that they have to work so hard to play. So we try to make sure that the children are positioned so that they will not be distracted by their discomfort.
A caveat to that is we do work with PTs, and the PTs do want to see them work. So it's not that we never make our kids work, it's that we choose. Are we making them work hard, or are we providing them the opportunity to explore? And sometimes they work hand in hand, not always. And it's per child. So some of these kids can push themselves around the hops room and explore. That's simultaneously both work, but they're not standing. We have them supported in suspension. So we're trying to take off that work so that they can focus their attention on exploring and play.
Okay. Best access. Explain best access.
Best access is just positioning them to most utilize their skills. So the picture we had of Josh with his hands over in the squishy wrap, he can only pick up his hands about this much. So we've positioned him where he doesn't have to do the work of picking up his hands, but they're now available to him. So we've supported him, the rest of his body, we've got him comfortable, and now he has his hands available to him. Whereas if we just had him in his wheelchair, he can't pick it up to put them in the bath. We'd have to pick his hands up for him to put them in the squishy stuff, and that would kind of detract from his ability to also kind of go in and out. All parts of the body can be used for exploring. Like we said, we do a lot of stuff for kids who like to lick. We do stuff for kids who like to move with their face. We like elbows, knees, toes, fingers. I mean, we're not picky.
Yeah, we're not picky. We'll take what they can give us. We'll take whatever movement is if they enjoy using. We're not there. We'll wipe them a little bit, but we're not there saying, "Oh, it's too wet. Let's move that toy out of here." No, if there's a little drool or whatever, that's all part of the exploration, and that's just what makes things work best for them. So that's where our minds are at and our focus is at. Ask a PT. We do believe in our PTs. They do make their kids work. There's a fine line between what they do and what we do, and I think when we put our heads together, we come up with a situation that works in both ways. I have some children who we have the suspension system. It can also be used in a more of a crawling position. If you adjust the harness the correct way, you'll have children whose hands are down on the mat. So a child who's working on pushing to move it's a PT goal. And they can do that at the same time, have things on the floor for their hands to explore. But if they're in upright position, the same way with bare feet, take the shoes off, socks off, and AFOs off, and let their feet explore. At the same time, they're working on goals that the PT has in mind.
Okay, so this is Lily's prone support bench. We don't personally use it that often. But for the right kid, it could be awesome. It supports kids' heads if they have a really hard time holding their head up. So you've taken out the work of holding their head up. It's got a space so their arms can come through. Now they've got access with their arms. And then it also supports the rest of their body. The reason I don't personally like it is if their head slips too much, you kind of block their vision. But again, for the right child, it's awesome. So we had to get to the videos. Okay. This is kind of the same position we saw earlier. He's on a wedge. He's got his arms hung over.
This is Leah.
This is Leah again. We've got her totally reclined and just kind of have her feet out where she can access things.
And let me just make a comment about these devices for water and massaging the feet. If you add a little soap to it, it can make a huge mountain of bubbles. If you have some place where you don't mind getting wet and messy, it's just a foam mountain. So it can be used for just experience of the water, and we put scents in it, peppermint or whatever. But also it can be great for just other things to touch and look at. That's it. The next thing would be upping the ante. Okay. And then the videos. So we know we have about 10 minutes left. We think we have about 10 minutes worth of material. And then we know you're looking for lunch after this. So. Okay. So you want to talk about upping the ante?
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Okay.
We can talk about it before our slide comes up. Upping the ante is just when you see that a child has learned a skill and has kind of gotten the most they're going to get out of what you've provided for them, you want to make it a little more interesting, a little more difficult. Continue to give them the opportunity to grow in what they're doing. Oh, oops, we really skipped ahead. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So we call that the Goldilocks level of challenge. We don't want it to be too easy because that gets really boring. We don't want it to be too hard because that's very frustrating. So you have to know your child and kind of observe what are they doing, what would make this just a little bit harder, just a little bit more interesting. And then back to the cognitive development aspect of that, you're giving them the opportunity to say, okay, I have this concept of whatever. Now you're giving them something similar so that they compare it and contrast it and kind of develop that, oh, it's not quite the same, but here's how it's similar, here's how it's different. And not verbally. When we say that compare and contrast, we don't mean they're writing an essay for you. We mean just that development in the brain. The brain stores all that information and uses the compare and contrast to make new concepts.
Okay, we have some videos to show you of some of our kids in action. We'll try to give you an explanation afterwards of what they're doing. This is Jude. And that is a sandbox under his feet.
We put it on wheels.
On wheels so that we can move it in and out quickly. And he's suspended from a Hopsa dress that we said the Hopsa dress is created by Lily. It's the harness. The system that we have is called what we call it a tracking system. Might have another name. But the harness is called Hopsa dress. And it is placed on a rod above his head that is automatically raised up so that we don't have to do any lifting. And so he is placed in a position that's just where his feet and toes can be on the floor or be in the materials so he can push a little bit while he is exploring. Oh, we're giving him time. Nobody's asking him to move or distracting him. We can do it. Very interesting. The videos? I don't know. Let's see. Okay. Okay. See, it's not that bad. We have 5 minutes. Nobody's helping him. He knows where he's going. He's using his vision to find things that he's interested in. Right. He pushed himself out. That's a happy noise. Okay. In the kid walk, he'll use both feet to push with. When he's in the Hopsa, not so much, but he moves quite well. He really enjoys doing it himself. If we were to push him through it, it wouldn't be fun for him. It's been tried. He doesn't like it when people are pushing him through things. He likes to do it on his own. Joshua. He's a kid who really is interested in buttons, but and musical toys. So I in this film was. It's cut out, but I was getting him to move a little bit more, the PT goals, towards some things he could explore by offering him a toy to play with once he got somewhere. Go ahead. He discovered it on his own as he was moving towards the toy, which was the point of the activity. Joshua again? Different Joshua? James.
James has very minimal movement, but he enjoys noise. He's very auditory, and so we've set him up with these. We have the glass beads somewhere here in the wooden bowl, so that every little move makes a lot of noise. It's kind of dark, isn't it? It's dark. And this is, again, we're giving him lots of time to do it himself.
This is Faith. This is the video I said that we may have some background noise in. I'm not sure if Claire was able to edit it out. She is really attracted.
Yes, the little brother.
The talking yes, the little brother no. But she's very attracted to the lights. That's what she's looking at up above her. But at the same time, she's very obviously aware of the spoons next to her face, and she's moving her head towards them. She's working on head control. If you need to throw in some extra things that you might wonder, what other purpose does this have? She's using her vision. She's doing some movement with her legs and has sometimes a directed reach with her hands. That's her brother. Okay. Yeah, we can do Janelle. Yeah. Last one? Okay, this is the last one. This is Janelle. Yeah, this is our iPad. She's all about music and using her hands. Best on her left side. It's visually attractive for her. She's in that suspended position I told you about where her hands are down and she's in close to crawling or position. Now she's going to use the iPad in a different way. She's using her chin, her nose. She's smiling. It's closer. She can see it better, too. Getting a lot of movement with her neck. And I believe that's a Lightbox app. You have a list of apps, I believe, at the back of your package that we use sometimes with our active learning. It's not our major tool for active learning, but it is valuable. No? Okay. I think that's it, right? Yeah, if you have any questions, we know you have lunch to go to, but if you want to come up and look at some of the things we brought up here, or if you have any questions, we're here to answer them. So, thank you.